Hey guys, this is Sloosh Gaming, and today we're going to be talking about the one and the only Battlefield 1. Now, I know this has been getting a lot of airtime on the internet recently, mostly because of the fact that it looks so much better than the new Call of Duty that's coming out. But today we're going to be talking about the effects that all the Call of Duty players switching over to Battlefield will have on not only the community of Battlefield, but Battlefield as a franchise. So let's start out by explaining what Battlefield 1 is. So, Battlefield 1 is a first-person shooter taking place in World War I. So now, in order to understand the importance of this, I'm going to give you a little bit of a history lesson in first-person shooters. So they started out in the early 2000s with mostly Call of Duty. With World War II games, there was a lot of World War II games. People started getting really tired of them. So by 2004, 2005, they were moving on to modern and future titles. But now the same thing's happening for modern and future. People are getting really tired of it, and they kind of want to go back in time to World War I, World War II, Korea, or Vietnam. Or heck, even older if they can make it work. But recently, the two competing first-person shooter games are Call of Duty and Battlefield. For the rest of the video, I'm going to be abbreviating Call of Duty into COD, so when you hear that, that's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, and although they're compared quite a bit on the internet and things, they are completely different games. So let's just start by explaining Battlefield and the Battlefield player. So, the classic Battlefield player is usually Battlefield appeals to a completely different audience than COD. Battlefield is usually 14 or 15 and older. Most of the people who play Battlefield have headsets and mics so they can communicate, because Battlefield is much more of a team-oriented game. You have to work together as a team, and you have to take objectives, and the map sizes are huge. There's like, each objective is a town. Like a town, and there's like 7 different towns all throughout this big old map. And there's lots of vehicles too. Helicopters, planes, tanks, boats, cars, everything in between. It's really amazing. It's such a open map, and it's really cool. Battlefield prides themselves on being a war simulator. Now, let's move on to Call of Duty. Call of Duty is more of an arcade style game. It's mostly works on twitch reflexes, so instead of like actual tactics, it's more like you just come around the corner, oh, there's an enemy, I'll shoot, bang, you gotta shoot him really quick. And there's really no tactics involved. There's pretty much no vehicles. Actually, there aren't any vehicles. There's no vehicles. There's score streaks, which are pretty much like power-ups. See where I'm going here? It's a lot more of an arcadey game. Power-ups, score streaks, things like that, and it's much more of an arcadey style game. But people still compare them anyway, and, you know, say, oh, this one's better, oh, that one's better. Personally, I've always been more of a Battlefield fan, but I do play a lot of Call of Duty, too. I love them both. So, recently, they both released their games right near each other. Call of Duty released Infinite Warfare, and Battlefield released Battlefield 1. And like I was saying earlier, a lot of people are getting tired of this modern and future stuff. So when they found out that the next Call of Duty coming out this year was going to be another futuristic title, even more futuristic than the other ones. The other ones have been futuristic, but they've been, you know, still kind of realistic. But this one, there's like space battles and stuff. It's a lot like Star Wars, and there's like, you go to other planets and stuff, and that's pretty crazy. Yeah, and then about 4 or 5 days later, Battlefield released their newest title, Battlefield 1, which is taking us back to World War I, and it looks amazing. So, a lot of Call of Duty players are going to be switching over to Battlefield because it looks way much better, and that's what we've all been asking for. Now, if you've been on YouTube recently, sorry, a motorcycle's going by, but if you've been on YouTube recently, you will know that the new Call of Duty trailer is the most disliked trailer on YouTube. That's movies, games, everything, trailer. Battlefield 1 is actually the most liked trailer on all of YouTube. Like, in the history of YouTube. So a lot of Call of Duty players are going to be switching over to Battlefield. So that's definitely going to affect the community. So let's go ahead and start with that. The effects it's going to have on the community. So there's a lot of old school OG freaking Battlefield players like myself, my friend Warning Hook Games, and many other people who have been playing Battlefield for a really long time and love the teamwork and love everything like that. And now you're going to get Call of Duty players coming over to Battlefield who have never played Battlefield before. They've never watched Battlefield before, and as far as they know, it's exactly like Call of Duty. So they're going to be all freaking out trying to shoot everyone instead of actually focusing on teamwork. Which is going to make me and other OG freaking Battlefield players get pretty angry, actually. They're going to be running and gunning instead of teamworking and things like that. And also, it's a completely different game. There's definitely going to be a major learning curve. A lot of people aren't even going to know how to play, a lot of Call of Duty players. And also, not to mention, Battlefield players are usually, like I think I said this earlier, they're usually, 14 or 15 and older. And Call of Duty players are like the 8 or 9-year-olds that are screaming into their mics saying every single cuss word in the entire universe at you, that just hate everyone and make fun of everyone. And Battlefield's more of a loving community that likes to work together to, have fun. But so we're introducing these two completely different views together in one game. And this is going to cause clashes. There's going to be a lot of mutinies, like you'll be playing with your team on Battlefield and like you'll be all alone because all the freaking people on your team came from Call of Duty and they're just going to leave you. They're going to leave you alone. And that's not cool. Also, there's going to be lots of splits in the community. It's going to be less of a teamwork-oriented thing. It's going to turn into like a run-and-gun thing. And it's going to be harder to communicate because although a lot of Call of Duty people do have mics so they can cuss you out and stuff, like, out of 100, if you took 100 Battlefield people and asked them how many of them had mics, 90 of them would answer yes. If you took 100 Call of Duty people and asked them how many had mics, maybe 30 would say yes. So they have a lot less mics, which is going to make it really a lot harder to communicate on what objectives we're supposed to be attacking and things like that. So those are some of the effects on the community, and I expect to see lots of arguments, lots of rage quitting, and other things like that. So the next one that really worries me the most is the effects on EA and DICE. Now, these are the creators of Battlefield, and this one worries me a lot because EA and DICE are good video game creators, like pretty much any video game creator is, except for Call of Duty. They listen to their players, they listen to their fans, and they change to make it more fun for everyone. And if we have all of these Call of Duty fans coming over to EA and DICE, or coming over to Battlefield, sorry, then this is gonna cause a lot of chaos because half their community, which is the OG Battlefield players, will be wanting more things like this, and then the other half, the newer Call of Duty players that are coming over, are going to want it to become more of a run-and-gun game and less of a vehicle-based, tactical-based game. And this worries me personally. I get really anxious thinking about maybe they're going to start catering more to the Call of Duty people, or maybe they're just going to listen to both of us, but it'll be split equally and they'll listen to them. Or they'll, it's not going to make it as fun if Battlefield starts turning into Call of Duty just to cater to Call of Duty fans. So this worries me quite a bit, and I hope they keep both communities in mind. I understand they have to please everyone and they try to please everyone, but keep us OG Battlefield players in mind, but also listen to the Call of Duty players. You just gotta find that balance where it's just a really good game. So also some other effects on EA and DICE is I think a lot of people only play for the multiplayer, especially Call of Duty people. You'll buy a Call of Duty game and you'll just go straight to the multiplayer and not even play the single player campaign. And I know this is a little bit off topic, but it irritates the heck out of me because a lot of the maps, guns, and things like that are on the multiplayer, you learn about and figure out what they are, where they are in the single player, and I don't like being clueless. That's why when I get a game no multiplayer videos of me playing it won't come out for like a week after it's released, because that's when I'm playing the single player. But this also ties in back to Battlefield, because they're releasing a very large single player for Battlefield 1, but if they start listening to Call of Duty players, they're going to say, oh, well, why are we going to waste all this time and money making a single player campaign if no one really wants it? Which, you know, all of us OG Battlefield players will, but if, you know, all the Call of Duty players don't want it. So, you know, that also worries me, because I always love campaign and just campaign. It's really awesome to play campaign and actually learn the historical battles from a different perspective. I love history, World War I and World War II, and even other history. So it's really awesome to see, even though it might not be the most realistic at times, it's really amazing just to see and, you know, play and, like, you were there or something, you know. So, in the long run, I just hope that Battlefield will learn to balance its two communities. It's gonna be hard, because we're coming from two completely different views on first-person shooters and trying to mix into one game. It's gonna be tough. But if Battlefield, EA, and DICE are smart enough and learn how to balance all their players and their entire community, I think we could have lots of really awesome Battlefields to come. Thank you for watching my video. Please like and subscribe.